Fighting continues for the 23rd consecutive day in Western Sahara, where the Polisario Front continues to exercise legitimate defense against the Moroccan occupation along the Moroccan Wall of Shame. Likewise, according to the Sahrawi press service, the Sáhara Arab Democratic Republic Defense Ministry has stated that it will not back down until the entire republic is liberated. In this context, the military schools of the Sahrawi Liberation Army still receive the incessant flow of requests from young volunteers to join the legitimate armed defense, which is being carried out by the Sahrawi people against the occupation forces of the dictator Mohammed VI of Morocco. In occupied territories, the youth continue to avoid the blockade of the Moksin, and they send us news of the demonstrations they carry out to denounce the repression that the Moroccan police perpetrate against the Sahrawi population. From Berlelu, the president of Republican Security General of the Polisario Front takes part in the work of the 13th Extraordinary Summit of Heads of States and Government of the African Union on the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is celebrated telematically because of COVID-19 from Johannesburg, South Africa. On the other side of the Atlantic, from New York, the representative of the Frente Polisario to the UN affirms that the right of the Sahrawi people to independence is non-negotiable. From the same city, the president of the United Nations Security Council, Jerry Magila, has called on the international community to recognize its failure in Western Sahara and the disappointment at the failure to fulfill the promises made with the Sahrawi people to reach a solution through the celebration of the self-determination referendum. This shows that the Sahrawi Moroccan war continues to occupy the international political panorama, despite the attempts of the Moksin to hide the crushing reality of war. From Spain, mass mobilizations continue with a figure that to date exceeds 150 protest demonstrations throughout the Iberian Peninsula, highlighting this week the firm pronouncement of the Courts of Aragon requesting the Spanish government and the European Union political and diplomatic actions to demand that the Kingdom of Morocco respects international legality in Western Sahara. In the same sense, it should be said that the Basque leader Inigo Urkullu has received that the representative of the Frente Polisario in Euskadi, Limam Mohammed Ali, before whom he has urged the United Nations to act with determination to comply with its resolutions and the international tribunals, and that once a solution is possible based on the free will of the Sahrawi people. From neighboring Italy, different organizations and the institutions demand the government of the Italian Republic and the European Union to promote the cessation of hostilities between the parties, condemn the Moroccan armed aggression against Western Sahara, and the speedy holding of self-determination referendum. Further north, from Bern, Switzerland, several Swiss parliamentarians describe the situation in Western Sahara as one of occupation by Morocco, which has broken the ceasefire agreement, and urged their country to work for the restoration of peace. On the other hand, from Oslo, the Norwegian foreign minister affirmed on November 5th that her country's position regarding the conflict in Western Sahara is firm and is in line with the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council, thus responding to the question of our parliamentary compatriot Trine Skei Grande about the involvement of some Norwegian companies in the commercialization of natural resources of Western Sahara, and who has stated that Norway is firmly committed to promoting the settlement plan from January 2021, the year in which this country will assume its mission as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. In addition, more than 50 Norwegian organizations have asked their government to be at the forefront of defending the human rights of the Sahrawi people and to demand that Morocco release all Sahrawi political prisoners. From the British Parliament in London, Mr. James Cleverly, Minister of State for the Middle East and North Africa, stated that the British government is closely monitoring the situation in Western Sahara, and that from the government they continue to carry out contacts in this regard to alleviate military tensions and deploy their efforts to resume the political process led by United Nations in Western Sahara. In Havana, the Cuban Association of the United Nations has expressed its support for a definitive solution that allows the Sahrawi people to exercise their right to self-determination in accordance with international law. From Buenos Aires, Argentina, personalities and human rights organizations have demanded from the government of Alberto Fernandez the formal recognition of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Australian Senate member Tim Ayers urged the UN Security Council to design a plan to find a definitive solution to the conflict in Western Sahara. From this channel, we want to express our concern about the Moroccan veto on the entry into the occupied territories of Western Sahara of journalists and international human rights organizations. And we ask ourselves the following question: what crimes does Morocco want to hide apart from arbitrary detentions, forced disappearances, and repression?